Today we're talking about the pros and the cons of living in Frisco, Texas, where the population of this North Texas town is exploding faster than your group chat with all your besties, maybe on like drama night. So what was once a quiet, sleepy little suburb is now a magnet for all types of people wanting to make the move to Texas and wanting to make Frisco their home. You have the techies, you have the finance bros, you even have corporate big shots all residing and wanting to move to the Frisco area. People are flocking here like it is the new Silicon Prairie with a booming economy and a desire for the little bit of a fancy schmancy kind of lifestyle that you might be looking for. In a place like Frisco, it is not just growing, but it is truly starting to glow up. Now, Frisco, Texas is a suburb here in the north part of Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex that has attracted national attention for its rapid growth along with its family-friendly reputation. It is located about 30 miles north of downtown Dallas, and Frisco has transformed from the quiet prairie land that was once filled with wide open spaces and rolling hills into a city of over 230,000 people in just a few decades. So if you're considering relocating to Frisco, especially as a home buying family, it is important to weigh some of the pros and the cons. So we're going to dive into the unique advantages and some of the drawbacks of living in Frisco as of 2025, with some more of that up-to-date insight from some of the top local sources and its residents. Now, if this is your first time to my channel, my name is Kristen Carpentier and I'm a local realtor here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. My family and I relocated here just over 13 years ago now from the great hot state of Arizona. And it was a pretty big change for our family of 6. There were a lot of things that we didn't even think to consider when making our move here, but we have loved it. And I do my best to help others find their dream home here in the Lone Star State. So if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to reach out so that we can find the right place for you too. Now, we're gonna dive into the pros and cons of living in Texas. But first up, let's get into the pros, and we're going to talk about the top-rated schools and the education system in Frisco. Frisco is served by the Frisco Independent School District, which has an A+ rating according to niche.com and some of the highest ranked public schools in all of Texas. What brings many of the families to town is that the school district is known for its innovative, more of a small school model. So instead of having these big, massive high schools with thousands and thousands of students, Frisco operates a much smaller high school program with 12 high schools in Frisco ISD currently. And all of these high schools roughly only have around 2,000 to about 2,500 students per high school. This also helps to give more students a chance to participate in sports, clubs, and a lot of the various activities that are offered at their schools. Families that are moving here know of the school district's reputation for excellence, which does make it a major draw for a lot of people with kids. They also have many options for advanced academic programs as well. For example, kind of placing high-performing 5th graders into more accelerated math programs into the 6th grade, which is pretty standard. And the overall curriculum and its teachers are also provided with many of the resources in order to have success within the schools. So basically, for the parents that are wanting to move to Frisco, they can feel good about the educational opportunities for their kids. Though, kind of be prepared for the competition with many of the high achieving students within the district. So that's going to be something that we'll talk a little bit more about later as a possible downside for the kids in the education system within Frisco. The next pro that we want to talk about is the family-friendly entertainment and amenities. Now, personally, I feel like Frisco has something for everyone, whether you're young, old, families, and even for the single people out there. It offers tons of amenities, sports options galore, and plenty of ways to relax that are hard to beat by living in some of the other suburbs. It's earned the nickname Sports City for its well-known world-class venues like the Dallas Cowboys headquarters and their practice facility, the Star, that's located in Frisco too. Those, along with Toyota Stadium, which is home to the FC Dallas Soccer Club, the Rough Riders Field, which is Frisco's minor league baseball stadium, and of course the new PGA Frisco Golf Resort with its championship courses. Now, just some of the examples, there's a ton of other options there as well. These facilities aren't really just for the show and for the elite teams that they host. They also host a lot of youth sports programs, camps, and events all year round, making it really easy for a lot of families to be able to get involved within the community. Frisco also has lots of options for shopping and dining, if that's your jam. There's the Stonebriar Center Mall and a variety of restaurants all throughout the city of Frisco, with everything from popular chains to a lot of local different eateries. So coming sometime around 2027 and 2028 is going to be Fields West. Now, when this is built out, it is going to be a 55-acre luxury urban village that will have world-class shopping, dining, and entertainment, which is only going to further enhance all of the options that Frisco is going to have to offer. So continuing to grow and a lot of growth and options and things still to come within Frisco. Frisco also has attractions like the National Video Game Museum, Sci-Tech Discovery Center for kids, and a fantastic new public library. I just remember growing up, going to the library, and this is a really good one with a big giant dinosaur inside and everything. So great thing if you want to be able to still get your kids interested in reading. So the city also does prioritize a lot of parks and recreation as well. There are over 49 parks all throughout the city of Frisco, encompassing over 1,400 acres of green space and trails for all of your outdoor activities. So from community parks, neighborhood splash pads, and the Frisco Athletic Center, which has a city water park and gym, the city of Frisco has plenty of options for you to play and also to be able to relax. Frisco's growth isn't slowing down anytime soon either. The Universal Studios chose the city of Frisco for a new kids-themed theme park, which is going to be the first of its kind in the US, and it's going to be geared more toward the younger children. This particular project is planned to be opening in 2026 and has many people in the Dallas area excited for a fun new family destination in town. And of course, you're going to find some of the local residents which have concerns about the increased traffic and Frisco's identity with having a theme park, but we're going to get into a little bit more of that a bit later. So because there's no doubt it will add entertainment value for families, but basically you'll rarely hear "I'm bored" from your kids by living in the city of Frisco, given all the sports, parks, and upcoming attractions that will be available to residents and to all of DFW. Pro number 3 is going to be the strong economy and job opportunities in Frisco. Frisco does sit in the heart of North Texas's booming job market. The city's location along the Dallas North Tollway and along Highway 121 does provide quick access to major employment hubs here in North Dallas. Not only within Frisco, but also Plano and areas like Legacy West, and with access to other areas in North Dallas because of the freeway access and where you can get along for other major employers in the area. In fact, Frisco itself has attracted corporate campuses and high-paying jobs. For example, like I mentioned before, it's home to the Dallas Cowboys headquarters, the headquarters for the PGA of America, and it's near the massive Legacy Business Park where companies like Toyota, JP Morgan, and tons of others have offices. The benefit for residents is the proximity to plenty of jobs in tech, finance, healthcare, and tons of other sectors also. Frisco's median household income is very high compared to some of the other cities and suburbs around, which does reflect the many professionals that are living here. And one comment that we found on Reddit from a local said that, while I don't really personally love the suburb in particular, I make significantly more money here than I would elsewhere. The city's explosive growth, with its population up around 18% in the past few years alone, is a sign of a strong economic opportunity, especially with all of the new retail and commercial developments springing up, with the largest one being the Fields that will soon take center stage. So while Frisco does continue to offer a lot of economic opportunities, whether you're transferring with a company or just wanting to look for a new job, you're going to find a thriving job market in and around the area of Frisco. Pro number 4 is going to be safety and low crime rates. I know it's a big deal for a lot of people wanting to move to a different metroplex and wanting to make sure that they get into a safe area. And Frisco is going to be a really great option for that. So if safety is a top concern, Frisco is somewhere to really kind of put your mind at ease. It was recently ranked the #1 safest city in the United States by Wallet Hub in 2024, and local crime rates are well below the national averages. The suburb has a very low violent crime rate and roughly 0.88 per 1,000 residents, which is about 70% lower than the US norms, and low property crime rates as well. Many families do choose Frisco for its safe neighborhoods. The streets are clean, street lights are plentiful around the city, and you'll often see kids playing or biking and riding their scooters outside and around the neighborhoods. You'll often hear the locals describe Frisco as having a bubble of safety and comfort. Additionally, the city services like the local police, fire, and other emergency medical services are very well funded, and community policing programs help keep crime low and in check. Now, this sense of security and overall well-being is a huge pro for families, giving people peace of mind, whether your kids are walking to school or you're enjoying an evening in town. Of course, everybody is going to have an opinion, but one new resident on Reddit summed it up by saying the only thing they liked about Frisco was that it was safe. All right, if that's got to be what it is, I mean, at least that is a huge major factor in choosing where to live. Now, the next pro is going to be the master plan communities and quality of life that you're going to find living in Frisco. Frisco's residential development is dominated by some newer, more modern master plan communities. Cue the Fields specifically, but yes, there are tons of others. These communities have been designed for family life as well as luxury communities and well-established neighborhoods too. What does this mean for you? Well, in practical terms, having beautiful neighborhoods with amenities like community pools, playgrounds, walking trails, dog parks, and clubhouse facilities. Not to mention multiple gated communities for those seeking a more secure neighborhood. Many subdivisions will also host their own events. Think about having food truck nights, holiday festivals, block parties. These types of community gatherings make it easy to meet neighbors and really get that feel of a sense of community quickly when you're moving somewhere new. The houses in Frisco are also relatively new, with a large portion of the homes built in the 2000s or later. So you're going to find homes with updated floor plans and a lot of more open concept features. Residents are going to enjoy clean, wide roads and plenty of retail centers conveniently scattered all around town. Virtually every necessity is going to be within a short drive, no matter where you live within Frisco. Frisco's motto could well be suburban comfort with modern conveniences. Now, several locals do note that most of the things in Frisco are newer and well kept, from the schools to the parks. And thanks to the city's growth in planning and continuing to improve the area, for families relocating from older cities and wanting somewhere with tons of options from shopping and dining and everyday living, this fresh, planned feel can be a really big plus. You're just not going to find rundown parks or aging infrastructure to worry about if you're living in Frisco. Additionally, Frisco's homeownership rate is around 62%, indicating a very stable, invested community. And as a homeowner, you're going to be in very good company. Overall, the quality of life with its shiny new amenities, tidy neighborhoods, and an engaged and very active community, it is a strong pro for why residents absolutely love living in Frisco. Next pro is that Frisco also has a very diverse community and culture. So contrary to some stereotypes about Texas, Frisco is a very diverse city with many families moving here from all around the country, and they definitely appreciate that part of it. In fact, as of 2024, only about half of the population is white, and a large Asian community, over 1/3 of the residents, calling Frisco home. This diversity brings in a richness in cultural events, food, and learning opportunities. You're going to find a variety of international food options, which we actually love. We love food from everywhere. There are plenty of Indian, East Asian, Middle Eastern, Mexican, you name it, you're going to be able to find it in Frisco. All of them are going to be represented within their restaurants as well as their grocery stores. Festivals like Holi and Diwali have also been celebrated by a lot of local groups in the area. And there's a general feeling of inclusivity in the schools and the community programs. And another comment on Reddit noted that the school's demographics and competitive academics are largely driven by families who prioritize their education, which is a reflection on the diverse and highly educated population that has settled in the Frisco area. For an out-of-state family, moving to Frisco can be a really great experience as your kids do interact with peers from many different backgrounds. The cultural scene in Frisco itself really is growing. For instance, the Frisco Discovery Center hosts art, science, and theater events. And while it may not rival the big city's art district, you're not far from Dallas's museums and venues either. So Frisco definitely offers that melting pot type of environment, one that in a suburban setting can be a great pro if you value diversity and cultural exposure for your family. All right, time to get into the cons of living in Frisco, Texas. And the first con that we want to highlight is going to be the high housing costs and property taxes if you're looking to purchase a home here. One of the biggest downsides to Frisco is the cost of housing. Simply put, it's expensive relative to many of the other Texas cities and suburbs. As of 2025, the median home price in Frisco is around $685,000, making it among one of the highest in the DFW Metroplex. This is driven by demand and desirability, but it does mean that newcomers should think about their budget accordingly and figure out if that's really where they want to be. If you are looking to buy a family-sized home in Frisco, it will likely cost more than a comparable home in other nearby towns. And on top of that, Texas has high property taxes, as we all like to talk about, and Frisco is not going to be any exception to that. Local residents do face substantial property tax burden with bills that include city, county, and school district, and other taxes that can add up to an effective rate around 2% of the home's value annually. So if you need more information on property taxes out here, reach out because it is a huge ordeal, totally dependent on where you live and what the property tax rate is going to be. So for an average home, that can mean $10,000 to $15,000 more per year just in your property taxes. Some Frisco homeowners say that the combo of a hefty mortgage, high taxes, plus the steep homeowners insurance rates that we're getting these days, and we're definitely going to talk a little bit more about that here in a second, is going to make home ownership even more challenging these days. It's worth noting that the city's popularity has even priced out some families who may be hoping to move there. Frisco is a very expensive city to live in, so young families just starting out may not be able to afford to live there. One local observed, noting that there is a decline in young families moving into the area. And if you are relocating from maybe a higher cost area, somewhere like California, you might still find Frisco's prices a little bit more reasonable for what you get, but compared to most of Texas or the United States, Frisco is a very high cost city. People still need to be prepared for maybe some bidding wars on some of the desirable properties in some of the desirable neighborhoods, and of course for the cost of your property tax escrow to be more significant than what you're probably used to. All right, next con is going to be traffic, commuting, and car dependency. And it's one of my biggest cons too for the area. Since Frisco's population has exploded, traffic congestion has become a common complaint. Major roadways like the Dallas North Tollway and Highway 380 can be brutal during rush hour, and even local streets get clogged around school drop-off times. But they also seem to be very busy to me as I drive around town any time of the day, just more so during rush hour and school hours. One of the longtime residents of Frisco bluntly stated, "Traffic is bad and is continuing to get worse." Part of the issue is that road expansion has been a little bit slower moving than the commercial and housing development. Many of these main roads are still just 2 lanes each way and haven't been widened yet to handle the volume. With all of the ongoing construction that they're doing to widen the Dallas North Tollway and some of the other roads, it's going to mean that you'll also have to deal with detours and construction zones a lot more often than you'd probably like. Another factor is that Frisco is very highly car dependent. Public transportation is pretty much non-existent. Frisco isn't even part of the DART system, which is our Dallas Area Rapid Transit Railway. So there are no commuter rail lines or standard bus routes here in the city of Frisco. So unless you maybe carpool or vanpool, every commute is going to be by car. Locals joke, with some added frustration, of course, that you have to drive everywhere in Frisco, and it's not an incredibly walkable place either, as most neighborhoods are separated by some very large roads and a lot of commercial areas. The city does offer a limited on-demand shuttle service for the seniors or the disabled riders, which is very nice for them, but for the average resident, owning a vehicle, or maybe even 2, is definitely a must. You'll also likely end up paying some pretty high toll fees on the Dallas North Tollway or the 121 Sam Rayburn Tollway regularly, which will definitely add up quick to your monthly expenses. And the North Texas Tollway Authority rates do continue to go up every 2 years. Something to be aware of as well. Now, finally, if you do plan to enjoy the nightlife or events in downtown Dallas, take note on that as well, that Frisco is going to be at least a good 30+ minute drive outside of the city. One resident pointed out that to take an Uber to Dallas can cost $50 each way, creating a huge barrier to going out downtown if you aren't able to drive or maybe you don't want to own a car. But bottom line, traffic and commuting are pretty significant cons. The third con for living in Frisco is its rapid growth pains, the crowding and the construction. Am I going to keep talking about this? Yes, probably I will. Frisco's success also comes with its flip side, and that is the growing pains of a city that's constantly under construction. With new subdivisions, new shopping centers popping up on every single corner, and roads being built and expanded everywhere, some residents feel that the city is overcrowded and overdeveloped. Another comment on Reddit, yes, I do find quite a bit of decent information on Reddit these days, said, "Do not move here. It is overcrowded to oblivion, and it is a living hell with constant traffic jams." I mean, how do they really feel about the traffic in Frisco? Now, while that might be an extreme take and probably from maybe a tired and grumpy commuter, it's true that Frisco no longer feels like a small town. It is a very busy city now. I feel that way every single time I'm there, which is quite often, actually. You'll notice crowded supermarkets. I mean, have you checked out H-E-B? Have you been to Texas and seen what congestion is inside of a grocery store? Well, you're going to find that at H-E-B for sure. There are busy parks on weekends and competition for places in kids' activities due to the sheer number of families that are moving there. Every year, the school district has to rezone school boundaries, sometimes open new schools to accommodate all of the new students, especially as they aim to keep the numbers in their schools down. This can be a huge adjustment for some. And for instance, the elementary school your child starts at might not be the one that they finish at if a new school happens to open up nearby. Construction is also everywhere. New homes, new roads, new retail. You can expect noise from construction trucks and the sight of building cranes as part of your everyday life. Longtime locals have said that every empty spot of land is going to eventually be bought and developed into a strip mall. Some might hopefully be a little bit nicer than others, capturing the sentiment that nothing stays empty for long. So for those who like Frisco's quiet of the past, the pace of development can feel never ending. All this rapid growth can also dilute the sense of community. With so many people moving in and out and constant new faces, you might have to work a little bit harder to build more of those lasting relationships and friendships that you might be looking for by moving to a small town. One user observed that community can be a struggle in a place run by many individual HOAs where people mostly stick to themselves in their big houses. So just to summarize a little bit, with the fast growth comes congestion and change. While it can be exciting to some, it can be a clear con if you prefer a slower paced, more stable type of an environment. All right, con number 4, and that is going to be the extreme weather and climate considerations. Now, North Texas weather isn't for the faint of heart, and living in Frisco means hot summers and severe storms. And of course, most will apply to the DFW Metroplex as a whole. From May through September, you can count on very hot and humid weather, with summer highs often reaching at least 95 to 100 degrees, with very high humidity, making spending time outdoors very uncomfortable. I mean, is it just me? But I hate being outdoors in the summertime because of the heat and humidity. One transplant stated, "Summers are truly unbearable." And no, that wasn't just me. That was from somebody else. Shooting this video in the beginning of August, I would absolutely have to agree. But unlike the drier heat of places like Arizona, which is where we came from, the Dallas area's heat index is still high. And yes, it's because of the humidity. And it doesn't cool off much at night either, mainly because of the humidity. Feel like you go outside and you always feel hot and sticky. And on top of that, Frisco has to contend with the very severe spring storms. This part of North Texas lies partly in Hail Alley and on the edge of Tornado Alley. Hail storms have become increasingly problematic in recent years. It's not uncommon to get hail the size of quarters or golf balls, and sometimes we've even seen quite a bit bigger. I don't know how it forms. I don't understand it, but man, it honestly can get crazy. During some of the spring thunderstorms, the hail can wreck your roof and maybe your car, and even shatter a window or two. We have seen all of it happen with multiple friends, and yes, we've even had to replace our own roof due to hail damage. Homeowners in Frisco often face high insurance premiums and deductibles for wind and hail damage, and many have had to replace the roof every few years due to storm damage. Yes, it's something that can happen. Insurance companies in Texas typically apply 1% to 2% deductible for wind and hail, meaning that you pay a percentage of your home's value in a claim, which could still add up to a costly prospect. And additionally, residents have to be weather aware. There are frequent thunderstorms and tornado warnings in the spring. Now, while Frisco is a bit south of the core of Tornado Alley, tornadoes have hit north parts of DFW area before. So you need to have a plan for severe weather, especially since we don't really have basements here in DFW. We get asked that question all the time. And yes, you can find a couple, but definitely a different type of a circumstance. But overall, most houses here in DFW do not have a basement. And don't forget the occasional ice storms that we're going to get here in the wintertime. So while snow is pretty rare, North Texas does get a couple of days of freezing rain each winter that can paralyze the roadways. And I will say, stay off them at all costs if we do get ice storms that blow through town. Newcomers from more milder climates might be shocked by our crazy weather changes that we get. One family moving from Phoenix asked if the summer feels worse due to the humidity. Me, I kind of think so sometimes. And the answer, heat, humidity, and my least favorite thing ever, mosquitoes. Yes, the bugs I think are much bigger in Texas, and I am not a fan. Now, in short, I think that the weather can be a con, but you'll have to deal with scorching summers, crazy storms, and some giant hail occasionally. And of course, the higher costs of things like your AC bills and even your insurance claims. Now let's get into the next con that I want to talk about, and that is going to be the suburban lifestyle and the limited urban culture. Now, here in North Texas, Frisco is, I think, the epitome of modern suburbia, which can be a negative if you're moving here and looking for more urban charm or a little bit more unique character. Critics sometimes call Frisco a suburban hellscape, or say that it's kind of more cookie cutter, with its large shopping centers and plenty of chain restaurants on every single corner, housing developments that start to all kind of look the same a little bit, and like I mentioned, the need to have a car. The city does lack a traditional downtown or walkable neighborhood center for now. Most things that you're going to need will require you to hop in your car, blast the AC in the summertime in order to get to work or to do some shopping or have a night out on the town and grab a bite to eat. There is a small historic Main Street area in an area of Old Frisco, but it is relatively small and more quiet compared to, say, McKinney's downtown, which is often ranked among the best small downtowns in all of DFW. So if you love being able to stroll to cafes or maybe crave a lot of nightlife, Frisco is probably going to be a bit of a disappointment. Most of the entertainment venues are family oriented, or the big chains and sporting events. And nightlife is minimal aside from perhaps some sports bars or the music at the Star. One newer resident did complain that the food is meh and there's nothing to do here if you're not a family person. But of course, that's one person's perspective, and you don't have to go too far outside of Frisco to find a bunch of other options. Now, that perspective, though, does give the feeling that Frisco can be boring for some of the younger adults out there, or the single people looking for ways to meet different people. And that Frisco is very much geared towards the family life. Now, culturally, while it may be a pretty diverse, it's still a suburban culture. For example, there are many churches and a generally conservative vibe around town. One person noted that it's very religious and comparable to their experience in Utah in terms of a red state feel. Just to give you a heads up, that's what somebody said, just so you know, when moving to Texas and the Frisco area. The arts and live music scene in Frisco are minimal, but more is being talked about for the future. So you might have to drive to Dallas or Fort Worth for museums or concerts, or if you prefer, the theater. Now, in short, living in Frisco really does mean embracing suburbia. Hands down, that is just kind of how it is. So for better or worse, just be prepared if Frisco is on your radar. Some people love the convenience, don't mind driving to the big city for attractions and occasionally a night out, but others do miss having a sense of unique and local culture. So if you do prefer quaint cafes or independent boutiques or historic character, Frisco's more polished master plan style might end up feeling a little bit more sterile for you. It really does come down to personal preference, but it's a valid con to consider if you are coming from a more urban or culturally rich environment. the high competition and pressure, both academically and socially. While Frisco's excellence can be a pro, it also does create a competitive atmosphere for some families that might find it challenging. The schools, for instance, are full of high-performing students, and the community heavily emphasizes high achievement. A local parent pointed out that the demographics with many of the families from cultures that do maybe prioritize academics mean that your child will be competing with kids who are being raised to prioritize those academics. This can be a little bit more motivating for some, but it can also be stressful for the kids who might feel more pressure to keep up. From advanced classes to select sports leagues, there's a sense that expectations are very high. Some parents do worry about burnout or the need for tutoring to stay at the top of the class. While some do thrive with the added pressures in these competitive environments, since Frisco is an affluent city, keeping up with the Joneses can definitely be more of an Olympic sport here. Not everyone is wealthy, of course, but kids being kids may notice some of their peers with the latest gadgets or maybe their luxury cars lining the high school parking lot. But socially, some residents note that the community can feel a bit surface level. Now, with so many people coming and going and everyone busy, you don't really have that tight-knit, small-town feel. Now, as I mentioned before, HOA rules do keep neighborhoods immaculate, but also fairly uniform. They can require everything from the type of fencing that you're allowed in your yard that surrounds your property, along with the required stain colors and maybe your landscaping requirements, all things that I've had to deal with clients. But some may find that it makes communities feel more inauthentic and maybe a little bit more disengaged. So for adults, the pressure might come in the form of an intense PTA involvement or competitive job environments, given so many high achieving professionals concentrated within one city. Now, this isn't to overstate the issue. Plenty of people find their tribe and will always thrive no matter where it is that they're going to go. But it's worth noting that Frisco's success-oriented environment can be a double-edged sword. So if you're seeking a more laid-back, low-pressure lifestyle, or not wanting to always be worrying about your kids being in a high-pressure academic race, the aspect of Frisco might be a little bit of a downside. Now, there's always going to be alternatives to consider. So if you compare Frisco to some of the nearby suburbs, Frisco clearly has a lot to offer, but it might not be everybody's cup of tea. So the Dallas-Fort Worth area really has a lot of suburbs. I know we try to talk about them all the time here on my channel, each with its own unique options. So I do think that it's always smart to compare your options. Then after you might weigh some of the pros and cons and you feel somewhat unsure about Frisco, well, here are a few suburbs that you may want to actually consider. Have you maybe thought about Plano or McKinney? Just to the south of Frisco is the city of Plano. It's a slightly older and very established city. It also has great schools and employment opportunities. It's a bit more mature in its feel with its tree-lined streets and the fact that it was developed decades earlier. And some say it has more of an established feel to it compared to the growth and the new development that is still coming to Frisco. Then there's McKinney, which is just east of Frisco. It offers a mix of master plan communities and its charming historic downtown. And in fact, one Frisco resident did suggest checking out McKinney, bragging that our downtown might be top 5 small downtowns in the DFW area. And honestly, I kind of agree. We love downtown McKinney. McKinney's historic downtown has restaurants, boutiques, a lot of regular events, which they host down there, which might appeal to you if you want more character and options. Now, McKinney's home prices have also risen, but they can still be a little bit more affordable than Frisco for a comparable size home. And it certainly has a strong sense of community pride in the city of McKinney as well. And what about options like maybe Prosper and Salina? So just to the north of Frisco, you're going to find the city of Prosper, and just north of Prosper, you're going to find the city of Salina. Both are rapidly growing and are set to be the next frontier suburbs. Prosper in particular was mentioned for its larger lots and a smaller town feel. I mean, at least for now. If you found Frisco appealing but too crowded or pricey, Prosper might be worth taking a look at. It's essentially what Frisco was 10 to 15 years ago, but with even more new construction options. So with new developments, but a little bit more elbow room and maybe a little bit more slower pace. However, we do need to note that Prosper ISD is growing extremely fast as well. Salina like I said, is even further north of Frisco, just north of Prosper, and it is still considered more rural. A lot of two-lane roads out there, and it has the appeal to those who don't mind being on the edge of the metro in exchange for a truly small town vibe that's still within community distance of jobs that might be in the areas of Frisco and Plano. Then we also have cities like Allen, Southlake, and obviously quite a few others. Now, Allen lies just southeast of Frisco and is another top-rated school district and suburb. It's slightly smaller and less expensive on average than Frisco, with its own set of different types of amenities that they offer. Allen has a famous high school football stadium and is home to the fourth largest high school in the entire country and the largest high school in all of Texas. It also has multiple shopping and dining areas in places like Waters Creek and the Allen Outlet Mall. Then Southlake is even further to the west and located within the northeast part of Tarrant County. And that one is an affluent suburb, often compared to Frisco in terms of the schools and the cost. But Southlake is smaller and centered around an upscale town square with a more exclusive feel and definitely some higher end stores, but even higher home prices on average than Frisco. But if you don't need to be in Collin County, Southlake does offer a great combination of luxury living and top-rated schools, though with a little bit different of a feel. It has a more old money vibe and definitely less new development than Frisco. There are also quieter communities like Fairview or Lucas that are east of Frisco and even east of Allen. These towns might suit those who prefer historic charm or a slower pace with much larger lots and a lot more space than fast-growing Frisco. These towns have much larger homes on acreage and a very relaxed atmosphere, but you'll have to sacrifice the big city conveniences being really close and nearby. So in essence, if Frisco's big suburb energy with all of its opportunities and headaches isn't for you, one of its neighbors just might be. Now, many families do a tour of the area and weigh Frisco versus Plano and versus Prosper and even versus McKinney, etc. Lots of options out there if you want to be in the North Dallas area. That way they can hopefully find the right balance of schools, home prices, and lifestyle that they're looking for. Frisco does tend to be the choice for those who want the newest and the most action-packed suburb, whereas others might opt for a slightly calmer environment at the cost of fewer intermediate amenities. And it is all about your priorities. And as a realtor, I am happy to help you navigate these differences, as I do with so many of my clients looking to find the best fit when they're making the move here to the Dallas area. So in conclusion, let's kind of wrap all of this up a little bit. Frisco, Texas really does exemplify the modern suburban dream in so many ways, with a lot of great schools, master planned neighborhoods, low crime, tons of amenities, and a strong economy. It honestly is no surprise that this has been one of the fastest growing cities in the nation and a top choice for relocating families. The good of Frisco includes a safe, family-centered environment that comes packed with things to do and opportunities to thrive in every aspect of your life. However, the bad, or at least some of the more challenging aspects, like the high cost of living, traffic and growth pains, extreme weather, and a lack of charm that it's sometimes known for, are important things to consider, especially if you're moving from out of state with certain expectations. But ultimately, deciding whether Frisco is the right destination comes down to what you value most. If you want a more exciting suburb with top-rated schools and plenty of sports options, and maybe some forward-looking growth, Frisco will likely check a lot of those boxes and then some. You'll be investing in a city that continues to grow and attract big name projects from, again, the Cowboys, PGA, Universal Studios. This city could pay off in terms of home equity and opportunities for your family. But on the other hand, if you do prefer a more laid-back community or one with deep historical roots and less traffic, you might lean towards one of the alternative suburbs nearby. Well, in any case, being informed is definitely key. We've talked all about current insights from data rankings to quite a few of the local opinions people haven't been afraid to share, in order to give you more of a, we'll call it 360-degree view of life in Frisco, Texas. Now, I know that relocating is a very big decision. So whether it's moving to a different city within the Dallas-Fort Worth metro or maybe to the other side of the country, having this particular knowledge now of Frisco's pros and cons, you're going to be a little bit better prepared to decide if this Texas boomtown and crazy metropolis is going to truly be the place that you want to plant your family's roots. And as always, I am only a call, text, or email away. I can't wait to talk to you about how I can help you find the perfect place to call home here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And until next time, take care.